Hey guys, this is going to be my match from week 2 of War League. As you can see up on the screen, I decided to play my Reason Gate this week. After my week 1 loss, I was like, okay, maybe I should play a deck that I'm a little bit more experienced and comfortable with instead of playing a brand new deck that I literally just made, that week. So I played this deck. Full disclosure, I did lose 1 and 2, which I'm pretty disappointed about, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. But in the spirit of accountability, win or lose, I'm going to keep posting these videos every week, whether I win or lose. It is always a really good learning experience for me. And hopefully it is an opportunity for you guys to also learn at the expense of watching me get my ass kicked. But yeah, we're going to keep posting these videos. So this week I got paired up against another Reason Gate player, which I was both looking forward to and really not looking forward to. And the reason I was not looking forward to it is because I think that the standard Reason Gate Turbo list has an advantage, an edge over this list. Because the way I play this deck, if you guys are familiar with my channel or have watched my other videos, I play it a little bit more grindy and a little bit more control than the typical Reason Gate deck. And I think that a full-on turbo build has an advantage over this deck because they can kind of just sit back and then drop everything on you in one turn, which is, how a lot of people play the deck, right? That's how it works. But I think, when they go head-to-head, all other things equal, the standard Reason Gate Turbo deck actually has an advantage over this one. And the reason I say it's more grindy and more control, if you guys are not familiar with my content, is because I'm playing Sinister Serpent, and I play this to kind of lower the variance in the deck. And what I mean by that is, Reasoning is a very high variance card. If you get it, off successfully, then you can just absolutely steamroll your opponent. But if they call it correctly, then you could absolutely get wrecked, right? There's a very high variance there. So adding Sinister Serpent kind of lowers that variance a little bit by including a level 1 and including a card that is going to come back and net you advantage over multiple turns, especially if you're using it with Monster Gate or Graceful and stuff like that. So kind of like, normalizes the playing field for yourself a little bit in terms of getting reasoning calls incorrect, right? Or your opponent getting reasoning calls correct, right? So the other reason I was not looking forward to playing the mirror match is because the deck list that I submitted for that week did not include very much side for the mirror match. You can see here I'm not playing Spell Canceller, which I normally do play my side deck. I kind of go back and forth with it in and out. But the list that I submitted for this week, did not include Spell Canceller. So I'm like, shoot, if he has Spell Canceller, or if they have Spell Canceller, then it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. So with that, let's jump right into the replays. I won the rock, paper, scissors, so I'm going first. And right off the bat, I have a really interesting decision that I make, which, I don't know, it's kind of questionable. But I hit this Fusilier off of this Monster Gate, and I have the meta in hand. So at this point, I do have the intel that this person is highly likely to be playing Reason Gate. So I'm really, really tempted to make Last Warrior right now. I really actually hate making Last Warrior because I feel that every time I make it, my opponent has a Snatch Steal or some answer to it. And when you make Last Warrior, you're kind of making a deal with the devil because you yourself cannot play the game, right? You're also kind of like just, you're just hoping that they don't have an out and hoping that you can, attack 4 times for lethal and put them on a 4-turn clock, right? But you are kind of like a sitting duck, and as long as they're able to weather a few attacks and then draw into an out, then they can just totally turn the tides, and you kind of lock yourself out of the game for a few turns, right? So I really hate making Last Warrior, but it was too tempting not to make it because I have the Lightning Vortex here, so even if he draws a Snatch Steal, I do have a way to answer it. But yeah, so I make the Last Warrior, hoping that he has nothing that he can normal summon or set, which at this point he doesn't, but then he has Graceful, and he draws into 2 tables, which gets him a monster that he can set, which was a really nice draw. So he saves himself some life points right here. At this point in time, I could also be normal setting my Sinister Serpent if I want to, but I kind of wanted the hand so that I can Lightning Vortex with it because I'm kind of preemptively waiting for the Snatch Steal. But then he draws into another monster that he gets set. So at this point in time, he's already saved himself 4,700 life points, which is crazy. Okay, here is a misplay on my part. First of all, he already drew Lightning Vortex, so he has an out to this, and he still has full life on game 3, which is crazy, right? I made Warrior on game 1. I made Warrior on turn 1. It's turn 3 right now. He still has full life. This shouldn't be happening. I'm already regretting this decision. I top deck an Upstart, and I don't activate it, and that is a misplay because I did some incorrect math. 3 attacks with Last Warrior will put him at 950, and then if I Upstart, he'll be at 1950, and he'll still be under 2,000. But for some reason in my head, when I was doing the math, I thought if I had activated Upstart, it was going to increase his life from 1050 to 2050, which means that he would be over 2,000 and have enough life for Dimension Fusion, which is my main prerogative right here. I'm trying to get him under 2,000 so he can't activate Dimension Fusion. So I hold this Upstart because of that incorrect math in my head, and I really should have activated it, but that's a misplay on my part. But at this point in time, he's already saved himself 4,700 life. But he drew the out right here, so he's got a way to deal with it. He's just biding his time. He Lightning Vortexes this, and then, okay, this is where I get a little unlucky and he gets a little bit lucky right here. Also, so this is going to come back later if you guys are curious about this. It's not super important, but I have this bad habit of toggling standby phase, main phase, back to standby phase, like doing it really fast, like standby phase, main phase, standby phase. And I go back and forth there just out of habit because of Trap Dust Shoot, kind of asking them if they wanted to do anything in standby phase. So what happened there was I go standby, main, standby, and then I add back Serpent, right? But I guess he's well, I shouldn't really be doing that, but he's basically saying I already went to main phase 1 and then I added back Serpent, but yeah, that's my bad. I got to break that habit. But, I didn't do anything before adding back the Serpent, so it really doesn't change the game state at all. And I was only in main phase for literally like a second before I switched back, but a bad habit I should break. Okay, so he uses Reasoning, and he has the Demock in his hand. I'm calling 8 at this point because I already see, 2 4s in the grave, and he has Graceful, so I really don't want him to hit Demock. So at this point, I'm kind of forced to call 8. But he has 8 in his hand, so he's basically going to get 2 Reasonings for free. So, damn, it's just unlucky. And then this is just such a nice play on his part. Yeah, he has attributes for Demock. He drew into Dimension Fusion off of the Crane, I believe. And then off of the Graceful, he draws into Chaos Monster. So, man, that was really, really just unfortunate for me. So he draws the combo right here, and that's going to be game. So in retrospect, I probably should not have made Last Warrior and just start attacking with Fusilier for 1400. You guys could see that I had some plays in my hand I could have done if I wasn't making Last Warrior. So yeah, I was tempted, and I actually make Last Warrior again in the third game. So after this match, I'm like, I'm never making Last Warrior again. This time I'm doing pretty solid. I have a good hand. I draw Graceful, which is particularly good in this deck. He calls 4, which is interesting given there's already a 4 here. I only play 2 Sacred Cranes, so there's an equal probability of me hitting 8 than there is 4. So I really would not call 4 in this situation if I were him. I think that is incorrect, unless he's assuming I'm playing 3 Cranes. But yeah, anyway, I hit the Serpent. And then off of this Serpent, I think I hit Air Knight, and I decided to just start getting in some damage here. Interestingly, he activates Scapegoat before I attack, so I take one of them, and he takes the 1900 anyway, but I'm assuming he just wants 2 monster slots free to do that. So I'm not really sure why he did that, but he must want 2 monster zones free. Main phase 2, I activate Vortex because I assume that he wants to activate Monster Gate or Meta, so I don't want him to be able to do that. And then over here, he makes a misplay. he summons Sacred Crane. I'm like, okay, there's only a couple things you could be doing here. Maybe you have Snatch Steal, right? If he has Snatch Steal, this is going to be problematic for me. A little bit problematic for me. Not that bad because I have BLS and Dimension Fusion. But the more likely play is that he's going to summon this and Monster Gate this away. So I'm going to ring this before he has a chance to Monster Gate it. And this is a misplay on his part because he could set this card and use Monster Gate, which would prevent me from using Ring. And then if he hits Jinzo, then this Ring is going to be turned off, right? So that's a misplay from his part. So prevent him from doing anything. He can't do anything right now. He's got two good traps though. I decide to drop BLS right here, and I'm gonna go a little bit aggro. So you can see right here, I activate Dimension Fusion, ask him if it's okay, and he gives me the thumbs up. So I'm gonna resolve Dimension Fusion right now, and both of his traps are turned off. And at this point, at that point, he was asking me if he could chain to Dimension Fusion, which I kind of had to be a little bit of a rule shark and say no, because that's clearly a misplay, right? Like maybe he didn't realize there was Jinzo there, but I asked him if the Dimension Fusion was good. He said it could resolve, so it has to resolve. So unfortunately, I had to be a little bit strict right there. I felt a little bit bad, so sorry about that. He cites the Serpent thing from earlier, but I don't know. I don't. Yeah, that's a really bad habit for me to do the standby phase, main phase, standby phase thing. I've stopped doing that since this match. But I didn't change the game state, and I was only main phase for like a second before I switched back. But yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. I feel a little bit bad about being strict with that Dimension Fusion, but that was a misplay from his part, not activating Hollowed Life Barrier before Dimension Fusion resolved. Okay, game 3. A little bit of a slow start here, kind of hoping that he does something so I can meta his monster, but he's playing as he should and just playing really slow until he draws the nuts, and he's already got, half of the equation right there. So over here, okay, I don't know why, guys. Like I could have, yeah, I make Last Warrior again. I don't know why. I was like, I didn't learn my lesson from game 1 and make Last Warrior again. He wasn't do anything. He wasn't activating any reasonings, nothing. So I was kind of thinking that, maybe his hand is bricked and now would be a good opportunity to drop this. And I also still have the Lightning Vortex to end Ring if I need to destroy Last Warrior. So I make it again. It was a mistake. He has the answer right there. He had multiple answers right here. So, okay, this is also a huge misplay on my part. And it kind of just shows how seldom I make Last Warrior. For whatever reason, in my head, I kind of just thought this Last Warrior was a spell canceller because they kind of do similar things against Reasoning Gate. And I'm like, okay, main phase 2, I'm just going to bring back the spell canceller and shut him out of the game. But obviously I can't bring back this Last Warrior because it was someone with meta, so I'm forced to bring back this Fusilier, which is just like a weird play. It must have looked really weird to him. Though, if he is going to go off next turn, having an extra monster on board could be helpful. But, yeah, I just, I brain farted right here. Okay, activates Heavy. I have Scapegoat, but he has Lightning Vortex, so that's really not a problem for him. I could have optionally ringed my Fusilier. I don't think that really would have made that big of a difference. But now he hits Reasoning. I called 8 because... why did I call 8? I called 8 because I feel like he's trying to go for a push right here. He hasn't done anything for a couple turns, and I feel like he's trying to go for a push right here. So if he hits 8, it's going to be pretty catastrophic for me. He hits 4 again. I'm wondering how many 4s he's playing in the deck, because he already has 1 in his hand, but he hits 4 again. Monster Gates, and this is where he hits Spell Canceller, and now I'm kind of fucked because he draws Spell Canceller and BLS, and now I'm just absolutely screwed. So yeah, it's pretty much a wrap from here. But here's something you guys learn from. I set these 2 bluffs, just trying to stall a little bit, and it's enough for him to turn both Spell Canceller and BLS into defense mode because he's respecting Mirror Force. So this goes to show you that even if you have literally no chance of winning, it doesn't hurt to just bluff your opponent out, and that ends up buying me at least one extra turn. So there's that. Um, I dropped my own BLS, which would have been really great if I had a light in the grave, which I do not. That is really unfortunate. If I had, man, if I had a light in the grave, oh sorry, yeah, light in the grave, this would have been really quite good for me. Um, I could attack over both of these, and then I would definitely be back in the game. But nope. Or if I could just top deck a crane, like he's drawn so many cranes, right? Where are my cranes at? Um, but yeah, that's the match. Um, I think my biggest takeaway from this is I'm probably never gonna make Last Warrior ever again in this deck. It's just not worth it. Every time I make it, I think I've only ever won like one game making Last Warrior against Reason Gate with Reasoning Gate. But I'd say like, you know, 80-90% of the time I end up getting punished for doing it. So that's my biggest takeaway here. But either way, some nice gameplay. I'm pretty upset that I lost to Reasoning 8 deck, but I also did not have a Spell Canceller in my side. And to be honest, he got some really nice draws and reasoning calls, right? Like he resolved, 3 or 4 reasonings correctly and hit some good targets. And that's just how it goes with this deck. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and shout out to the other Reasoning 8 player. Thanks.